Okay, strap yourselves in, folks, because this week we are diving headfirst into the wild world of crypto.
Yeah, it's been pretty wild.
Yeah, I mean, the past few days have been absolutely crazy, right?
Absolutely bonkers.
But, I don't even know where to start. I guess with Trump, right? He dropped this total bombshell about this U.S. crypto strategic reserve.
Mm-hmm.
And the market's gone absolutely nuts.
Yeah, it has been a very interesting 48 hours, to say the least.
To say the least. So in this deep dive, we're going to try to figure out what exactly happened.
Yeah.
And more importantly, what it might mean for you, for me, for everyone, for your crypto portfolio.
Yeah, a lot of people are still trying to figure out what exactly this means.
Yeah.
I think the U.S. government's stance on crypto has always been,
Oh, it's been all over the place.
it's been all over the place.
Sometimes they're like, oh, it's a scam. Sometimes they're like, oh, it's the future.
Right, yeah. One minute they hate it, the next minute they love it.
Yeah, exactly. So this seems like a pretty major turning point, wouldn't you say?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, Bitcoin nearly hit $95,000.
I know, it's...
That's insane. The total crypto market cap surged by like $300 billion.
Yeah.
I mean, can you even imagine that much money?
It's we're talking about real money now. That's
money.
It's a lot of dough.
But okay, let's back up a bit here. For those of us who maybe haven't been, glued to the charts for the last 2 days,
Right.
what exactly is a strategic reserve? Like, I usually hear that in the context of like oil or gold, right?
Right. Yeah. Typically, when we're talking about strategic reserves, it's a country stockpiling essential commodities.
Yeah.
Things like barrels of oil, gold bars, that kind of thing.
Right, to kind of stabilize prices and make sure that there's enough to go around.
Exactly. It's ensuring supply, stabilizing prices, and sometimes can be used as a political tool. But
Right.
yeah, essentially a natural safety net.
But instead of oil, we're talking about what? Bitcoin, Ethereum?
Yeah. So in this case, we're talking Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana, Cardano.
Okay.
Yeah, so instead of barrels of oil, it's, these digital assets.
Okay, that kind of makes sense. So Trump is essentially saying that the U.S. government is going to be holding like a bunch of these cryptocurrencies.
That seems to be the case, yeah.
I mean, that's a huge deal, right?
It's a pretty big deal.
But why these specific coins? Like, is there some method to the madness here?
Yeah, I mean, that's the million-dollar question, right?
Yes.
There's been no official explanation of, like, the selection criteria.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, and that's, a lot of people are kind of raising their eyebrows at that. Like,
yeah, I would.
Why these specific coins? There's some speculation that maybe, Trump is trying to pump certain coins that he or his allies have personal stakes in.
Oh.
So, yeah, we'll have to,
We're going to have to dig into that a little bit more later.
We'll dig into that for sure.
But first, I want to hear about, like, the market's reaction. You mentioned, Bitcoin almost hitting $95,000. It sounds like pure chaos out there.
Oh, it was a total frenzy. Remember FOMO, the fear of missing out?
Oh, yeah, the FOMO.
It was in full force.
Yeah.
Investors saw this news and just piled into Bitcoin. It's just driving the price through the roof.
It's just classic supply and demand, right?
Supply and demand, yeah.
But with a big dose of hype.
Yeah, with a lot of hype thrown in there.
Yeah, for good measure.
A lot of speculation, people just, kind of going with their gut.
Oh, yeah. And it wasn't just like, retail investors getting in on the action, right? Like,
right.
What about companies like MicroStrategy?
Yeah, so MicroStrategy, which has billions of dollars in Bitcoin holdings.
Billions
with a B.
Wow.
Saw their stock price jump by 13% in a single day.
Oh, my God.
So that's a clear indication that, institutional investors are also starting to see this as a major validation
of crypto.
Of crypto's legitimacy. Exactly.
And even though Bitcoin has come down from its peak, it's still significantly higher than it was pre-announcement, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, it's still hovering around, what, $87,000?
Around $87,000.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a massive win for anyone who's already holding these coins.
Yeah, huge win.
But what about the people who were, kind of on the fence about crypto before all this? Like, this has got to be pretty tempting.
Yeah, I mean, this move has injected a huge amount of confidence into the market, and I think we're going to see a lot of new investors, kind of dipping their toes into crypto for the first time.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's important to remember that this market is still incredibly volatile.
Oh, absolutely.
Prices can swing wildly, and what goes up can come down just as quickly.
Yeah, and that's what we always preach on this show, right?
Right.
Caution, do your research,
Exactly.
Don't get caught up in the hype.
Especially in this market, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't make any rash decisions.
So speaking of big moves, let's talk about what happened with the SEC.
Yeah.
I heard they dropped, like, some major lawsuits against, like, Kraken and Coinbase, practically on the heels of Trump's announcement.
Yeah, it was been shortly after.
That seems pretty significant, wouldn't you say?
I hear it's huge, yeah.
I mean, what was the deal with those lawsuits anyway?
So those lawsuits were all centered around whether certain cryptocurrencies should be classified as securities, which would, subject them to much stricter regulations.
Right.
So the fact that the SEC is dropping these cases so soon after Trump's announcement kind of suggests that, there might be a change in the regulatory winds.
Interesting. So could this be a sign that the government is taking a softer approach to crypto regulation?
It's possible, but we need to understand the context of these lawsuits first.
Okay.
The Kraken case, for example, was about their staking program, which allowed users to earn rewards by essentially locking up their crypto.
Right.
The SEC argued that this constituted an unregistered security offering.
Okay.
The Coinbase case was similar. It was focusing on whether certain tokens listed on their platform should be classified as securities.
So basically, these lawsuits were all about the SEC, trying to assert its authority over certain aspects of the crypto market.
Exactly.
But now, with Trump basically, endorsing crypto as a strategic asset,
right,
it seems like they're kind of backing off a bit.
It seems that way, yeah.
So, I mean, this raises a ton of questions, right?
It does.
About the future of crypto regulation. Like, are we going to see a more hands-off approach from the government?
Yeah, I mean, is this just a temporary reprieve?
Right.
The crypto industry needs clarity.
Yeah, for sure.
And right now, there's a lot of uncertainty.
Well, for one, I'm on the edge of my seat.
I know.
It sounds like things are about to get really interesting.
Oh, absolutely.
But before we dive into all that, all the potential regulatory ramifications and all that.
Right.
I want to circle back to those conflict of interest concerns that we touched on earlier.
Yeah.
Is there any fire behind that smoke?
It's still early days.
Right.
But there are definitely some red flags,
Yeah.
The lack of transparency around the selection process for the strategic reserve is concerning.
Mm-hmm.
Several analysts and journalists are already, digging into Trump's financial disclosures, looking for any potential ties to the coins that were chosen.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, this could turn into a major scandal if any impropriety is uncovered.
Oh, I can already see the headlines. CryptoGate. Did Trump pump his own bags?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, this is definitely a story to watch, but before we, get too carried away with all the conspiracy theories, let's take a step back and talk about the broader implications of this whole situation. I mean, what does the U.S. establishing a crypto reserve actually mean for the global financial landscape? Like, is this the start of, like, a new era of digital currencies?
I mean, that's the big question, isn't it?
It is.
And one that we'll explore in more depth later on.
Right.
But for now, I think it's safe to say that the game has officially changed.
Yeah.
The U.S. government has thrown its weight behind crypto in a way that we've never seen before.
Yeah, for sure.
And the reverberations will be felt around the world.
I can't wait to unpack all of that.
Yeah,
but for now, I think we've given our listeners plenty to chew on, right?
I think so.
So stay tuned for part 2, where we'll delve deeper into the regulatory and global implications of this whole crypto bombshell.
It's going to be a wild ride.
All right, see you next time.
So yeah, it's really interesting to think about, like, the signal this sends to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
For years, governments and central banks, they've been wary of crypto. Even dismissed.
Totally.
But now, like the U.S., a global financial powerhouse, is saying we're not just acknowledging crypto, we're embracing it.
It's like a giant green light for other countries to just jump on the bandwagon. You know?
Exactly.
Like, imagine a world where every nation has its own crypto reserve. What would that do to the global balance of power?
It's pretty mind-boggling.
It's mind-boggling.
It raises a lot of interesting questions. Like, would we see a shift away from the U.S. dollar as, the world's reserve currency?
Right.
Could crypto lead to, like, a more multipolar world where, power is distributed more evenly?
It's all speculation at this point.
It is.
But it's a conversation worth having.
For sure.
And speaking of conversations worth having, let's get back to those dropped lawsuits.
Okay.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around, like, the implications of that.
Yeah.
On the one hand, it seems like a win for the crypto industry.
Right.
Less regulation, more freedom to innovate. But is it really that simple?
It's definitely not a simple situation.
Right.
While the lawsuits dropping might seem like a victory for crypto on the surface.
Yeah.
It could also create more uncertainty in the long run.
Oh, how so?
Well, the SEC was essentially trying to establish some ground rules for how crypto operates within, the existing financial system.
Right.
So now, with those cases gone, we're in a bit of a regulatory limbo.
So instead of having clear rules, even if they were strict, we're now in this gray area where nobody knows what's allowed and what isn't?
Yeah, pretty much.
That doesn't seem ideal for anyone.
No, not really.
Especially, you think about institutional investors.
Right.
The big players with deep pockets.
They need that certainty.
They need some rules.
Yeah, they crave stability and predictability.
Right.
And this regulatory uncertainty could hinder wider adoption of crypto.
So what's, the best case scenario here?
Wow.
What would a healthy regulatory framework for crypto look like?
I think ideally we need regulations that protect consumers and prevent, illicit activities without, stifling innovation.
Right. You need some guardrails to, prevent the bad actors from ruining it for everyone else.
Exactly.
But you also don't want to over-regulate to the point where you kill the creativity and potential of the technology.
Exactly. It's a tough balance to strike.
It's a tough balance.
And that's the challenge facing regulators around the world right now, trying to figure out how to navigate this uncharted territory.
Because there's no playbook for this.
There's no playbook. Exactly.
Okay, well, one thing's for sure, it's going to be a wild ride.
Oh, absolutely.
But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We still need to unpack the whole crypto strategic reserve situation.
Okay.
Specifically, the coin selection.
Yeah.
I'm still super curious about why Trump included XRP in the mix.
Right.
Didn't they have some legal issues with the SEC not too long ago?
He did, yeah.
Yeah. So, why include a coin with such a cloudy legal past in a strategic reserve?
It's a good question.
It seems like a risky move.
It does raise eyebrows, yeah.
So what are people saying?
Well, some speculate that it might be a strategic move to undermine the SEC's authority.
Interesting.
Showing that the government isn't afraid to embrace crypto.
Right.
Even those with a history of regulatory scrutiny.
It's like Trump is saying, I'm going to do what I want, SEC be damned.
Yeah, kinda.
It definitely adds another layer of intrigue to this whole situation.
It does.
And it also highlights, the ongoing tension between the traditional financial system and, this emerging world of crypto.
Right. This is a power struggle that's been brewing for years.
Yeah.
And it's only going to intensify as crypto gains more mainstream acceptance.
It's like a clash of the titans.
It is.
But old guard versus the new kids on the block.
Exactly.
Who will emerge victorious?
We'll have to see.
Only time will tell. But let's not forget about, the little guy in all of this. Right.
What does this mean for the average person who's just trying to navigate this, increasingly complex crypto landscape?
Yeah, that's a great question.
It's a big one.
I think the key takeaway here is that the crypto world is changing rapidly.
Yeah.
And it's more important than ever to, stay informed.
Right.
Educate yourself.
Yeah.
Don't just blindly follow the hype or invest based on rumors and speculation.
Right. Do your own research.
Exactly.
Understand the risks.
Mm-hmm.
Don't invest more than you can afford to lose.
Yeah, that's Crypto 101.
Crypto 101. But beyond that, how can people stay ahead of the curve?
I think it's crucial to understand the technology behind crypto.
Okay.
Not just the price fluctuations.
Right.
Learn about blockchain,
okay,
consensus mechanisms, the different types of cryptocurrencies.
Yeah.
The more you understand the underlying technology, the better equipped you'll be to, make informed decisions.
Right. Knowledge is power.
Especially in a space as dynamic and unpredictable as crypto.
For sure.
But beyond just learning, the technical stuff, are there any other skills or mindsets that people should be cultivating?
Yeah, I think, develop a critical thinking mindset.
Okay.
Don't just take everything you read or hear at face value.
Yeah.
Question assumptions.
Yeah.
Consider different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
Learn to spot, misinformation and scams.
So become a crypto skeptic.
Yeah, in a healthy way.
In a healthy way.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But how do you balance that skepticism with, the excitement and the potential that crypto offers?
Right.
Because it's easy to get caught up in the FOMO, especially when you see, prices skyrocketing and everyone around you seems to be getting rich.
It's a delicate balance.
It is.
But I think the key is to, approach crypto with a long-term perspective.
Okay.
Don't get distracted by the short-term price fluctuations.
Right.
Focus on the underlying value proposition of the technology.
Yeah.
And the potential it has to, transform various industries and aspects of our lives.
Yeah, that's a great reminder.
Yeah.
It's easy to get lost in the hype, but at the end of the day, crypto is a tool.
It is. It is.
It's up to us to decide how we use it and what kind of future we want to build with it.
Well said.
Well said. And that brings us to, I think, an interesting question.
Okay.
What are the ethical and societal implications of this whole crypto revolution?
Yeah.
Is this technology a force for good, or could it, exacerbate existing inequalities and create new problems?
That's a big one.
It is a big one.
And one that we definitely need to unpack.
Yeah, and I know we've already touched on, the environmental impact of crypto mining.
Right.
But there are so many other angles to explore. Like, what about the potential for crypto to be used for, let's say, less than noble purposes? We've heard stories about it being used for money laundering, dark net markets, even funding terrorism.
Yeah, all of that.
How do we address those concerns?
It's true that, crypto's decentralized and pseudonymous nature can make it appealing for those, engaged in illicit activities.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember, though, that, cash is still king when it comes to crime.
Right.
And law enforcement agencies are getting much better at tracking crypto transactions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, thanks to advancements in blockchain analytics.
So it's not a perfect system.
No.
But it's not necessarily like the Wild West free-for-all that some people make it out to be either?
Not anymore. Not anymore.
Right.
Like any technology, crypto can be used for good or bad.
Yeah, for sure.
The key is to develop robust regulations and security measures to minimize the risks while still fostering innovation.
So we've talked about, the environmental impact, the potential for criminal activity. But what about, the broader societal implications? How could widespread crypto adoption change the way we live, work, and interact with each other?
Yeah, I mean, that's where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
Imagine a world where financial services are accessible to everyone, regardless of their location or their credit history.
Yeah.
That's the promise of decentralized finance, or DeFi.
DeFi. It could empower individuals and communities that have been excluded from, the traditional financial system.
Exactly.
It's like the democratization of finance.
It is.
Putting the power back in the hands of the people.
Yeah.
But isn't there a risk that it could also create new forms of inequality?
Yeah. That's a valid concern.
And what about people who don't have access to technology or the skills to navigate this, complex world?
That's a crucial point.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that the transition to a more decentralized future doesn't leave anyone behind.
Right. Technology should empower, not divide.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's talk about work,
Right.
Crypto is already disrupting, traditional industries, from finance to art to music.
It is.
What does the future of work look like in a crypto-powered world?
Well, it's a world where, decentralized autonomous organizations, or DAOs.
Yeah, could become the norm.
So what is a DAO?
So these are organizations that are run by code, where decisions are made, collectively by members.
Okay.
Often through voting mechanisms powered by blockchain technology.
So imagine a company without a CEO where everyone has a say in how things are run.
Yeah, that's the idea.
That's a radical departure from the traditional corporate hierarchy.
It is.
I mean, DAOs could revolutionize the way we work, right?
They could.
Offering greater transparency, autonomy, and potentially, even more equitable distribution of profits.
Right.
Of course, there are challenges to overcome.
There are.
It's a fascinating concept.
With the potential to just reshape the nature of work itself.
It really is.
Okay. It's all pretty mind-blowing, but let's bring it back to the individual level for a second.
Okay.
What advice would you give to someone who's curious about crypto, but maybe a little intimidated by all the, technical jargon and the volatility of the market?
I would say, start by educating yourself.
Right.
There are tons of resources available online and in libraries to learn the basics of blockchain, cryptocurrencies, and investing.
Right.
Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah.
Connect with communities of people who are already involved in this space.
Find your crypto tribe.
Exactly.
There's so many online forums, Discord servers, even real-life meetups where you can connect with like-minded people and learn from each other.
For sure.
But beyond education, what kind of mindset should people cultivate as they navigate this new world?
Be curious, be skeptical, and be patient.
Okay, I like that.
Crypto is still a relatively young technology.
Right.
And it's evolving rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
There will be ups and downs.
Oh, yeah.
Hype cycles.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And inevitable scams.
Right.
So don't let the FOMO drive your decisions.
Okay.
Take your time, do your research, and invest responsibly.
Solid advice. It's like anything else in life, right?
Pretty much.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly.
And don't believe everything you read on the internet.
Yeah, for sure.
But most importantly, stay curious and keep learning.
Exactly.
This is just the beginning of the crypto journey.
It is.
And it's going to be a wild ride.
It's going to be a wild ride.
All right. Well, on that note, I think it's time to move on to our next segment.
Okay. Sounds good.
Where we'll delve into the ethical and societal implications of this whole crypto craze.
Sure.
Okay. So we've covered the market madness, the regulatory roller coaster, and now we're stepping into, the philosophical realm.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, crypto isn't just about numbers and charts, right?
No, not at all.
It's about challenging the very foundations of our financial system.
It really is. It forces us to confront, some fundamental questions about money and power and control.
Yeah.
Who gets to decide what has value?
Right.
Who benefits from the current system?
Yeah.
And who might be left behind as we transition to a more decentralized future?
Those are some heavy questions.
Yeah, they are.
I feel like we need to put on our, philosopher hats for this one.
Put on your thinking caps.
So let's start with, the elephant in the room.
Okay.
One of the biggest criticisms of crypto, especially Bitcoin, is, the environmental impact.
Right.
All those mining operations, guzzling energy, there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
How do we reconcile that with the idea of, a sustainable future?
Yeah. It's definitely a valid concern.
It is.
The energy consumption of certain cryptocurrencies, particularly Bitcoin, with its, proof of work system,
right,
is substantial.
It's huge.
And a lot of that energy comes from fossil fuels, which, obviously adds to our carbon footprint.
Right. It almost feels like we're taking a step backward environmentally in the name of, technological progress.
I understand that perspective.
It's a tough pill to swallow.
It is, but it's not, it's not a black and white issue.
Okay.
The crypto industry is aware of this problem and is actively working on solutions.
Okay, that's good to hear.
We're seeing a shift towards more renewable energy sources, powering mining operations, and there's a lot of, research and development happening around, more energy efficient consensus mechanisms.
Like proof of stake.
Like proof of stake, exactly.
Okay, so there's hope for a greener crypto future.
Yeah, I think so.
But what about, the potential for crypto to be used for, let's say, less than noble purposes?
Right.
We've all heard the stories about it being used for money laundering, darknet markets, even funding terrorism.
Right, yeah.
How do we address those concerns?
Yeah, it's true that, crypto's decentralized and pseudonymous nature can make it appealing for, those engaged in illicit activities.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember that, cash is still king when it comes to crime.
Right.
And law enforcement agencies are getting much better at tracking crypto transactions.
Oh, okay.
Thanks to advancements in blockchain analytics.
So it's not a perfect system?
No.
But it's not necessarily the Wild West free-for-all that some people make it out to be either.
Not anymore. No.
Okay, so we've talked about the environmental impact, the potential for criminal activity.
Right.
But what about the broader societal implications? How could widespread crypto adoption change the way we live, work, interact with each other?
That's where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
Imagine a world where financial services are accessible to everyone.
Right.
Regardless of their location, their credit history.
Yeah.
That's the promise of decentralized finance or DeFi. It could empower individuals and communities that have been excluded from, traditional financial systems.
Right. It's like the democratization of finance.
Yeah, exactly.
Putting the power back into the hands of the people.
Exactly.
But isn't there a risk that it could also create new forms of inequality?
Yeah, that's a valid concern.
What about people who don't have access to technology or the skills to navigate this, complex world?
Yeah, that's a crucial point.
It is.
We need to make sure that the transition to a more decentralized future doesn't leave anyone behind.
Right. Technology should empower, not divide.
Exactly.
Okay, but let's talk about work.
Okay.
Crypto is already disrupting traditional industries.
It is, yeah.
From finance to art to music. What does the future of work look like in a crypto-powered world?
It's a world where, decentralized autonomous organizations, or DAOs, could become the norm.
DAOs. Okay, so what is a DAO?
So these are organizations that are run by code, where decisions are made, collectively by members,
right?
Often through, voting mechanisms powered by blockchain technology.
So imagine a company without a CEO where everyone has a say in how things are run.
Yeah, that's the general idea.
That's a pretty radical departure from, the traditional corporate hierarchy.
It is. It really is.
DAOs could revolutionize the way we work, right?
Right, yeah.
Offering greater transparency, autonomy, and potentially, even more equitable distribution of profits.
Sure.
Of course, there are challenges to overcome.
There are always challenges.
But it's a fascinating concept.
It is.
With the potential to just reshape, the nature of work itself.
It really does.
Okay, it's all pretty mind-blowing.
It is.
But let's bring it back to the individual level for a second.
Okay.
What advice would you give to someone who's curious about crypto, but maybe a little intimidated by all the, technical jargon and the volatility of the market?
I would say start by educating yourself. There are tons of resources available online in libraries.
Yeah.
To learn, the basics of blockchain, cryptocurrencies, investing.
Right.
Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
Connect with communities of people
who
are already involved in this space.
Find your crypto tribe.
Exactly.
Wait, there are so many online forums, Discord servers, even real-life meetups where you can connect with like-minded people and learn from each other.
For sure.
But beyond education, what kind of mindset should people cultivate as they navigate this new world?
I would say be curious, be skeptical, and be patient.
Okay.
Crypto is still a relatively young technology, and it's evolving rapidly. There will be ups and downs, hype cycles, and inevitable scams.
Right, it comes with the territory.
It does.
So don't let, the FOMO drive your decisions.
Exactly.
Take your time, do your research, and invest responsibly.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Solid advice. It's like anything else in life, right?
Pretty much.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket. And don't believe everything you read on the internet.
Yeah, for sure.
But most importantly, stay curious and keep learning.
Exactly.
This is just the beginning of the crypto journey.
It really is.
And it's going to be a wild ride.
It's going to be a wild one.
Well, on that note, I think we're signing off.
Sounds good.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the crazy world of crypto.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We'll be back next week to explore another fascinating topic.
Looking forward to it.
Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and stay ahead of the curve.
If this video helped, hit the like button, subscribe for more crypto content, and I'll see you in the next one.